You've got Dina agus Falchigadi, a cut of Brehon is Misha Cuid O'Flanagan. Hello, everybody. You're very welcome to the Brehon Academy, and I'm Kevin Flanagan. And in tonight's episode, we're going to continue the story that we started a couple of weeks ago, and that's the story of the Irish language. And in tonight's episode, we're going to talk a little bit more about the grammar and the rules and the weirdness and how Irish language has influenced English language. Now, before I jump into that, I just want to say the competition is still active for winning of this book. It is a signed copy by Manchán Magan, that's his signature. And if you want to get a chance to win this book, then I would ask you to check out the posts on YouTube. And the second post, I believe, is the one that's asking you for sharing your thoughts. And if you can't find that post, then go over and check Facebook or Instagram. You're looking for a picture of Manchán Magan. And I've really enjoyed reading all of the comments that have flooded in on all of these posts that I put up. Very nice and very heartwarming to hear how this man has reached so many people. And like my own experience with Manchán Magan, it's just nice to know that he has had a big impact on a lot of people in, recovering their connection with their language and their heritage. So if you want to be in with a chance to win this, there is no right or wrong answers. Just share a couple of your thoughts on YouTube, on the post on YouTube, or on Facebook or Instagram. Now, I want to also remind you to check out my website, brehonacademy.org. That's where you're going to find information about all of my online courses, which include the Early Irish Culture and Society, Irish Mythology, and the Brehon Laws of Early Ireland. And if you want to get a deal on those, you can get 3 of them for the price of 2. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. We're on YouTube because that's where you're watching this video. And I have a big announcement to make. We have finally passed the 30,000 subscriber mark. Yay! And a huge thank you to all of you who are subscribers. And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Help me get to 35,000 subscribers. That's the next milestone that I'm aiming for. And if you're not part of the channel, please consider becoming a member or subscriber. And if you really want to support me, we have an option for memberships as well. I have a bit of bad news. Last week, or in the last episode, I mentioned that 𝐺𝑒 was playing a gig when I was talking about the revival of the Irish language. 𝐺𝑒 is a band, and I'm wearing their t-shirt now to show my support. They're a band that only sing in Irish, and I told you that they were playing a concert in the Grand Social on the 29th of December of this year, but tá brón orm mar tá an Gaeilge curta 𝐺𝑒. I'm very sorry to say that the concert has been cancelled. Ní lisagum came for, I don't know why. If you were thinking of going, it's been cancelled. So, right, I think that's all of my announcements. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on X as well, and I promise we're going to be on TikTok in the future. So we already have an account up on TikTok, but if you're on TikTok, please give us a follow and just give me a bit of encouragement to start posting over there. Now, with all of that being said, I'm going to share my screen and we are going to talk about Scéal na Gaeilge. Okay, so to continue chapter 2, Cuid a Dó, part 2 of An Scéal na Gaeilge, 𝐺ℎ𝑒_𝑖𝑟 trí stair na teanga by Cuid O'Flanagan. The story of Irish Gaelic, a brief walk through the history of the language by Kevin Flanagan. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, in this chapter, in this part, we're going to talk about the alphabet, the rules, and the grammar, and some of its weirdness, because Irish is a bit of a weird language. I say that just because it's much more poetic than English is. Now, Irish only has 18 letters. So where do the other sounds come from? Well, it comes from a combination of consonants and vowels which produce specific sounds. And if you've learned Irish in school, you'll know what I'm talking about here. We also have our own alphabet, even though it's based off the Latin alphabet, and a lot of these letters do look like Latin letters. If you look at the R and the S, the small R and the small S, that's probably the two letters that are the most different. And underneath, you see what we call lenited consonants and other symbols, right? So I'll just start with the 𝑙ó𝑑. That's ET, and I guess it's like half a plus sign or something like that, or quarter of a plus sign. That's how it was written in the olden days. And these letters with the dots over it are called accents, and it's called a 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑣, which means a softening. So writing in Gaelic Irish language first appeared around the time St. Patrick introduced Christianity to Ireland in the 5th century, 432 AD to be precise. As Latin was the language of communication within the church, most early writing was in Latin, and the writers were most often priests or monks. So for example, the Book of Kells, a very famous manuscript which is in Trinity College Library, that's entirely written in Latin, except for one page, the Chi-Rho page. That's the Greek. It's X and P, what we would call X and P, but it's letters Chi and Rho, which was the old way of writing Jesus Christ's name. So the Gaelic written alphabet used in Irish literature is an adapted form of the Latin alphabet. Now you might notice a few things, that the letters J, K, Q, V, W, X, Y, and Z are all missing from this. And how do you get the letter V? How do you get the letter Q? How do you get the letter K? You know, and it's all got to do with their proximity to the vowels. And the vowels are divided into broad vowels and slender vowels. So the broad vowels are vowels like A, O, and U. That's the Latin vowels, and they make the consonants sound broad. And the slender vowels are I and E, or the keel vowels, and they make the consonants sound slender. So because of the broad and slender vowel groupings, we're going to reorder these not A, E, I, O, U as we do in English, but we're going to reorder them as A, O, U, I, E. A, O, U are the broad vowels, and I and E are the slender vowels. And you'll also notice when you look down on the right, the long, they have two possible lengths. So A, O, U, I, E, but A fada, O fada, U fada, I fada, E fada. And that's interesting because fada means long. And so if you were telling a story, it would be not uncommon for you to say fado, fado, for a long time ago. And the short vowels have a soft pronunciation, and the long vowels, fada, have a long pronunciation. Now, Irish only has 13 consonants: B, C, D, F, G, H, L, M, N, P, R, S, T. And when you include the dots on these, it becomes B, H, C, H, D, H, F, H, G, H. Now, the pronunciation of a consonant depends on whether it is either broad, if the closest vowel happens to be A, O, or U, or slender, the surrounding vowels in the word happen to be I or E. And so when we were learning in school, we didn't have the 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑣, we didn't have the dot over the letters. We didn't have these dots over the letters that you see at the bottom of this slide here. So what would we do? We would put the H in as a kind of a marker to say that this is a soft vowel. This is a soft consonant, should I say. And for foreigners, for people who've never looked at Irish before, the brain can kind of do crazy things when they see words that just don't make any sense, like phonetically. So these are how we get the sounds, and this is a table of the different ways that we can produce different sounds. So an M and a H is pronounced as a W or a V. So mawaher or mavaher, my mother. B and a H, same. It's a W or a V. So that would be V was, V may, I was. T and a H is a H, so maher, mother. P and a H becomes an F, which is should be kind of familiar because we use this in English as well. Like for phone, phone, it's not pahone, it's phone. And so mafocha, my pocket. C and a H becomes a K and a H, so that's fluck, wet. And it's helpful to kind of get a bit of a guttural sound or back of the throat, like you're trying to clear your throat. F and H is silent for some unknown reason, and I'm sure there is actually a reason for this, but if anybody knows why this is pronounced silently. So it's not on fur, it's on very cold, on S and a H is pronounced as a H, so Mahiola, my address. G and a H is pronounced as a G or a Y, so Maganzi, Maganzi. D and a H is pronounced as a G and a H or a Y, so Gaw for number 2, my Yeelin, my diary. And at the end of the word, so the terminator phrase ADH becomes a, uk, or u. So possa, possa. IGH at the end of the word becomes IH or IG. So I'm wig, outside. And IDH at the end of the word becomes IH or IG. So canny, may, cannig may, to buy. Now, this is only for people who are not familiar with Irish. And this is where I'm going to ask you, like, what is your brain doing when you look at this word? Because I should just give you a clue and say that this word is used all the time in Irish because it means is. That's simply all it means. But it's pronounced will. It's pronounced will. On will 𝐺𝑎𝑟𝑟 𝐺𝑒𝑖𝑙𝑔𝑒 an 𝐺𝑎𝑟𝑟. Do I have permission to go to the toilet? And so this is a slide of Will Smith, just to tell you, just to hammer home the point that this word is pronounced will. And Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now, for the next couple of slides, I'd like to talk to you about the sentence structure. It's ginger beer. It's not non-alcoholic. So in English, you would start with the subject, I, and then you'd have the verb, run, and then you'd have the object, to the shop. But in Irish, you start with the verb, ri, may, I run. So ri is the verb, may is the subject, and 𝐺𝑎𝑑 an shoppa is the object. So it's a slight inversion of what we're used to saying when we speak in English. Now, I want to go forward and show you the first sentence that I learned when I was in school in Irish. And There's a bit of a story behind this. And you're going to meet Will again in the next slide. An Will cead gom dulgadí an leheris má sé do cholé. An Will cead gom dulgadí an leheris má sé do cholé. And you used to have to sit with your fingers on your lips and your hand raised until you were called. So such indoctrination. When we were kids, we didn't know any better. And this means, may I go to the toilet? But it really means, do I have your permission to go to the toilet? And then, má sé do cholé means if it is your will. Má sé do cholé, if it is your will, which is another way of saying please. An bhfuil cead gom dulgadí an leheris má sé do cholé. Do I have permission to go to the toilet if it is your will? So just imagine, like, you know, the kind of what's going on in the brain of a child sitting in class, having to ask for permission to, you know, do one of nature's most basic requirements that all animals have to do. And it was a very clever way of kind of controlling the class, you know, controlling these young boys and girls. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are propositions. So this is prepositions are when you combine with a pronoun and you get a different word. So the pronouns are me, you, he or it, she or it, us, you, plural, or them. And the examples that I share here, but there's many different examples, are on, with, at, from, to or towards. So just by themselves, air is how you say on, le is with, egg is at, o is from, and con or quig is towards. But if you want to say on me, you'd say orum. If you want to say on you, you'd say ort. If you want to say on him or on her, it's er or urhi. On us is urin. On you, plural, is uruv. And on them is orhu. If you want to say with me, it's lum. With you is lat. With him or her is lesh or lay. With us is lin. With you, plural, is live. And with them is lo. If you want to say at me, you say a gum. At you, a gut. At him, a ge. At her, a ki. At us, a gwyn. At you, plural, a gwiv. At them, a ku. If you want to say from me, or this is another way of saying I need. So tá ruch uam, I need a wheel. Or tá peann uam, I need or I want the pen. But this is, and this table here, it's all to do with from. So to say it by itself, oh, that's from. So teig gedi station of fark. I go from the station to the park. So if it's from me, it's uam. From you, uat. From him, ui. From her, uahi. From us, uan. From you, plural, is uav. And from them is uahu. And onto to or towards me, kogum or hugum. Towards you, hugut. Towards him, huiga. Towards her, huiki. Towards us, hugan. Towards you, plural, hugov. And towards them is kuku or huku. Now I know it's a lot to take in, and there's many more types of prepositions that are combined with pronouns. Now, what I want to do next is just give you some phrases to practice. So first thing I want to say is in Irish, you do not have feelings. You wouldn't say, I am sad. Your feelings are on you or at you. So tá áthas orm, there's happiness upon me. Tá áthas orm, there's happiness upon me. Tá ocras orm, there's hunger upon me. And in Irish, you do not have a name. Your name is to you. Cad is anam duit. What is the name to you? And you might recognize the last word in this from how we say hello. Diadwich. That's essentially what you're saying is God to you. Now, Cuivin is anam dom. Kevin is the name to me. And I just wanted to show you how this would have been written back in the day when we had the shevu, when we had the dots over the consonants. That's how it would have been written back in the day. That's how it's written today, and that's how it would have been written back in the day. Cuivin is anam dom. And back in the day, we would know, our brains would just recognize the dot and the dot on the M and the dot on the G, and we would know that it's pronounced as a V and a G sound, a H sound. So you lose the sound of the G in pronouncing Cuivin. Kevin is the name to me. Cuivin is anam dom. Okay, so this is what I was saying a moment ago. Hello, singular, is diagwit, and that means God to you, or God be with you. Plural is diayiv, God to you all. The response to that is dia is miragwit. So this is, I mean, if you're not religious, then I don't know. I mean, I just remember watching In the Name of the Father by Des Bishop, which is a really good documentary where he goes off to the Gaeltacht and he learns how to speak Irish, and he has the intention of, you know, doing a whole stand-up show as Gaeilge, and he decides to sit the foundation level junior cert, and he's an atheist. So he was kind of having difficulty with how charged with this like godly language Irish happens to be. And he was asking somebody about it, and he's like, I can't remember what the word for hope is, but I think that's what they were talking about. And he said, but like, you know, what if you don't believe in God? And the guy says, well, if you believe in God, you have no hope. So, Codis anum duit, Codis anum gwit. What is your name? What is the name to you? Sean is anum dum. My name is John. Sean is anum dum. Sean is the name to me. Cunis atatu. How are you? I am good. Tá mé go maith. Tá mé go maith or tá mé go moi. I am good. Do you speak Irish? An bhfuil Gaeilge agat. Is Irish at you? Is Irish at you? It's not, do you speak Irish? It's like, it's Irish at you. And if you want to go a bit more, you could say, An bhfuil aon Gaeilge agat. Do you have any Irish? Aon is the, it's to do with the number one. I can speak a few words. Tá cúpla focal agam. Tá cúpla focal agam. A couple of words are at me. Go raibh maith agat. Go raibh maith agat. That they may be good at you. So an bhfuil Gaeilge agat or Gaeilge agat. Do you speak Irish? Is Irish at you? Tá cúpla focal agam. That's not a bad word. I can speak a few words or a couple of words are at me. Is as na stát aontaithe mé. I am from the United States. Is os na stát aontaithe mé. It is out of the United States I am. Is os na stát aontaithe mé. It is out of the United States I am. Now, when I was first doing this, it was on Paddy's Day a few years ago. I was delivering it to my work colleagues and I wanted to give them some phrases. And some of the people on my staff were, they really liked their whiskey. So I taught them this phrase, is matlum ishka baha. Ishka baha. I like whiskey. And incidentally, if you haven't heard this word before, ishka baha, it literally means the water of life. And that was because back when whiskey was first invented, somebody wrote in a manuscript that they made aquavit, which is Latin for water of life. And aquavit is, common in other places, like I believe Scandinavian countries, they have aquavit. So it's motlum ishkabaha. I like whiskey. Bawatlum ishkabaha. I would like whiskey. And here's just to whet your appetite. This is all of the different types of the water of life that you can get. But if whiskey doesn't take your fancy and you just want something lighter, you can say, is matlum bjór. Is matlum bjór. I like beer. Or bóalum bjór. I would like beer. And once you've had your drink and you want to say cheers, which literally means health, sláinte literally means health. So we have Inid Sláinte, the health center. So when you're saying slán to people, you're wishing them health as they pass. That's how you say goodbye in Irish. When you say slán, slán live, slán lat, you're literally saying have health as you go. So sláinte means cheers. We say it for cheers, and it means health. Céad míle fáilte, 100,000 welcomes. Céad míle fáilte, 100,000 welcomes, which we just say as welcome. Crack agus ceol, fun, good times and music. So it's not a crack as in the crack that you smoke. It's a crack. It's not spelled the same way. And it means fun, good times and music. And the Irish for madness is crackáilte. So it's a little bit, on the edge. And you can say this, like people will use this word quite frequently in Ireland. It was a great crack last night. Or if you want to say that somebody is no crack, you can call them a crackium. You just suck all the fun out of the room as soon as you walk in. You're a crackium. Ná féile fádrig chunadit. Ná éile fádrig chunadit. Chunagwit. Happy St. Patrick's Day. And that takes us on, to my favorite part of the Irish language, is talking about just how weird it is. And the descriptive, poetic way that they describe different things, especially things in nature. And I would suggest, and the way Manchal McGann writes in 32 Words for Fields and Listen to the Land Speak, that the Irish language is way more rich and vast than the English language, simply for its poetic nature, simply for the fact that if you want to insult somebody or if you want to describe a jellyfish, then you have to do it using poetic language. And that was even seen in the Brehon law, where there was 3 elements to a judgment that had to be present in order for it to be considered a true judgment. The first is it had to be based on popular expectation because the laws were polycentric. The second one was it had to be based on an observable principle of nature. And the third one was it had to be delivered in a form of poetry. So we're going to spend the next couple of minutes talking about this Irish weirdness and the influence on the English language. And you'll be surprised how many words from Irish are in English. So this is a jellyfish. which in Irish we describe as 𝐺𝑎𝑟𝑟 rowan, which means seal snot. Seal snot, which, you know, you kind of understand what people were thinking when they seen this. Another one that I don't have here is the spider is called 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑖𝑙𝑔𝑒, which means the little ox of the wall. The little ox of the wall, 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑖𝑙𝑔𝑒. This word is 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑔𝑒, and it means a fool. And literally it means one whose head is empty like an old eggshell. 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑔𝑒, a fool. Cnúdánaí, cnúdánaí is a purring cat. Aren't they cute? Now, the word for the devil, Taoiseach an Bháis. Taoiseach an Bháis, which means the chieftain of death. The chieftain of death. Aimliú is a word that means ruined by bad weather. Ruined by bad weather. Plumás means flattery or soft talk. And I think this is a word that we find in English as well, like, but maybe it's because I'm from Ireland. I think that it's just seeped into our common parlance. But plumás is kind of like, you know, giving a lot of compliments and saying like, oh, you're so strong or you're so handsome, you know, like it's just kind of soft talk, giving it some nice compliments. Slíomhnaigh. What I love about Irish is the fact that it has onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is when the sound of the word describes what it is. So crash bang wallop. This word slíomhnaigh, it means a sly, dishonest or scheming person. But literally it means like a smooth or slippery person. So if we want to say slippery ground, we'll say talamh slíomhnaigh. Talamh slíomhnaigh. Talamh is obviously the word for ground. Talamh slíomhnaigh. So it kind of means like a slippery person, a sly, dishonest or scheming person. And now on to the good stuff. Curses in the Irish language. And do you remember I was saying that, you know, there is no word for F or C word or, you know, unless you want to say like a gel, but that just means a fork, you know. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to kind of come up with these creative ways. So mucha or muha is ba-ort, smothering and drowning upon you. Glenihir and conquer may grumpiness devour you. Tohus gone igne ort, an itch with no nails. 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑖𝑙𝑔𝑒, may you have a bad reputation. Gogura sé scunna ort, may it give you diarrhea. Galar gan leis ort, disease without a cure upon you. 𝐺𝑎𝑟𝑟 ag de 𝐺ℎ𝑒𝑎𝑟𝑟 de Gaeilge. May your friends have a fine day burying you. Gdacha an díolthú, may the devil choke you. And I am inviting anybody who's watching this to share your own insults that I haven't included on this. Now I want to share the English words with Gaelic origins. Banshee, begrudge, bog, which means soft, boreen, bother, boycott, broch, brat, brogues or brogue, char, clabber, clock, colleen, corrie, crack, cross, drum, drisheen, dulce, esker, fenian, fiacre, gallowglass, galore, galore, gob, griskin, hooligan, keening, leprechaun, of course, limerick, loch, oath, believe it or not, oath, as in you swear an oath, phony, putcheen, shamrock, shebeen, shillelagh, she, sleeveen or sleeveen, slew, slob, slogan, smithereens, tilly, Tory, yes, as in the British Conservative Party, the Tories, turlock, and, of course, whiskey. Now, that was a long list. Well, there's probably more that aren't on this list, but the ones I want to focus in on are the ones in green right now. So, begrudge, believe it or not, I was so, I can't say I was surprised when I found out that the word begrudge actually comes from Irish, of Irish origin, because we do kind of have a begrudging nature among ourselves. Bog, which is a word that Manchán Magan spoke about, it means literally soft or spongy. And when you go to the bog, it's that's what it feels like when you're walking on the grass. It's very spongy. Boycott, Captain Boycott. This is a word that's famous all over the world. It's used by activists all the time as a way to do collective action against people who have more power than them. And most of the time that's companies, or it can be also governments as well. So this is all about, it comes from Captain Boycott, who was a landlord. And what happened was, because he mistreated his tenants, they boycotted him, what later became known as a boycott, and they refused to pick the crops. They refused to do the work. Brogues, it's an Irish for shoe, broga. And those leather brown shoes, which we call brogues, that literally just comes from Ireland. Now, clock. Now that's an interesting one, because clock is just a word for a device that tells the time, or a timekeeping feature. So we have a word for a bell, which is clog, clog. And it wasn't the bell so much as what the bell did. It kept the time. So when the bell was ringing out of the Clogchoch, those big round towers, the church would ring the bell periodically. That was how they were keeping the time. And if you want to understand this even more, you don't have to look any further than what we call the standing stones in Ireland. Clock on. And why do we call them that? Because they were also timekeepers. They were also calendars. So this is a very interesting word that is used all the time, in English. And if you doubt me, you should check in with the O'Clock family from County Kerry. They're a good family, good Irish family. I'm kidding, of course. But I got the idea for this when I seen a meme that was saying that time is Irish, the melancholy, the surname O'Clock. So time is Irish, in many different ways. Now, galore comes from G-O, new word, L-E-O-R, which means a lot, galore. Gob is obviously the mouth. Hooligan is a very interesting word because it comes from the family name O'Hooligan, O'Hooligan, the hooligans. And I don't know the story behind this, but I'm sure there is an interesting story behind that. The hooligan. And keening is where it comes from queene, a queene, which means crying. And it's this tradition that happens at a funeral where you would have professional keeners who would be mourning and singing the songs. And there's actually a video that I have on YouTube about that. And if you want to check it out, I would recommend you do so after this video. I'm going to skip leprechaun because I don't think you need to know what that means. I think you already know what that means. Limerick is the name for the poem. Lock, well, like lock, I don't think I need to explain either. Oath is a very interesting word because you have places like Rathoth, and it's just interesting to realize that the thing that we kind of take for granted in the English legal system has an Irish origin. Phony, Putcheen, Shamrock. I don't think I need to explain any of those. Uh, Slogan. That's the next one I would like to explain. This is a very, very interesting word because it's combined of two different words, slugh, S-L-U-A-G-H, and garum, G-H-A-I-R-M. And it means the shout of a host, the shout of a crowd. And each family had their own motto, and they would shout this out on the battlefield, and that would become their slúgarum, their slogan. And there's some famous ones like 𝐺𝑎𝑟𝑟 was the O'Neill clan's slogan. 𝐺𝑎𝑒𝑙𝑔𝑒 was the O'Brien's clan slogan, which means strong arm to victory. 𝐺𝑎𝑟𝑟 means the red hand to victory. And I also have a video about this up on my YouTube channel called the War Cries of Our Ancestors or something like that. So if you're interested in learning more, I would really recommend you check out that video. Smithereens is another interesting word because smither is a small piece and eens is like whenever you add the sound een at the end of a word, it means like small. So smithereens is like when you smash something into a lot of small pieces. Now, Tory is an interesting one as well because that's what they used to call the rebels uh, who would attack from the woods. I think I'm getting this right. And they started to use this word as a derogatory term for the Conservative Party in the UK. And the Conservatives just took that and they adopted it for themselves. So yeah, that's where the word Tory comes from. It was originally from Ireland, and it was not really a polite term for Irish people, but they were warriors. They were people who attacked from the woods. Turlock and obviously whiskey. I don't think I need to explain that again. Now, you'd be happy to know that we're nearly finished. Well, maybe you'd be happy to know. I don't know. And what I'd like to do is finish with this poem. It's called It's Misha an Gaeilge, which means I am the Irish language. Is Misha an Gaeilge. Is Misha the Theanga. Is Misha the Holtar. Dúsid na Fili me. Dúsid na Húsale. Dúsid na Dini me. Is dúsid na Lani. Go bródúil le bhí siad. Agus Misha frí réim. Ach chánig an strán sé. Thur sé faoi chus mé. Is rud ní bha miesa. Níor bha le me chláán mé. An niis táim lag. An niis táim tre. Ach fós táim live. Is bé mé go deo. Tóg suas me cheann. Chur áthas me chrí. Leabhraigí mé. Ó leabhraigí mé. I am the Irish language. I am your language. I am your culture. Used by the poets was I. Used by the nobles. Used by the people was I. And used by the children. Proud they were, and I did flourish. But the stranger came. He trampled me underfoot. Something worse than that. My own children rejected me. Now I am weak. Now I am feeble. But still, I am with you and will be forever. Raise up my head. Put joy in my heart. Speak me, oh speak me. And I think that's a very powerful poem. And it just speaks volumes to everything that I've talked about in these two episodes. When I tried to find out who wrote it, it was author unknown. Udar Anachnid. And this is the final slide. On will testine 𝐺𝑒, which means, are there questions at you? Now, this is not a live stream, so I'm not actually able to answer your questions. But if you have questions and you just want me to address them, please write them as a comment and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. Now, folks, that is all we have time for today. I hope you, oh, let me just close that. I hope you enjoyed that presentation, 2 parts. And I hope you learned something from it. I hope this has, revived your interest in the Irish language or given you a new interest, a renewed interest in the Irish language. Ach tá bronnur mar ní mé in nón a chaint a lán Gaeilge mar tá ódagas in my tír, in my here, in my hundy cack. I am very sad because I can't speak Irish. Ach, because the education in my county is cack. Ach ba bhfuilm a caint, ba bhfuilm a leabhart Gaeilge. But I want to be able to speak Irish. And time ag fólam Gaeilge anois, trílim a leabhargaí, a leabhart Gaeilge gach lá. I try to speak Irish every day. I try to learn Irish every day. And it's kind of like, this is my effort to, do what little I can to just promote an interest in the Irish language. Like I'm not níl mé líofa, níl mé flourishe. I'm not fluent and I'm not flourishing in Irish language, but that's not a good enough reason not to make this presentation. So I hope that I have done the Irish language some justice. And if you are a Gaeilgeoir, then I'd love to connect with you. And if you do it kindly, I would like it. I would like to speak to you. If you are a Gaeilgeoir and you want to give me some pointers. Um, just a reminder once again that the competition is still open. You can win this book, signed copy of Listen to the Land Speak by Manchán Magan. Next week, we're going to be speaking to Carol Barrett. Yeah, Carol Barrett, who is very important in the forest school, the revival of the forest school movement, which is just getting children outdoors, children and young adults outdoors. And I'm going to put that interview up next Thursday. So before I go, just to wrap things up, please check out the website, brehonacademy.org. That's where you're going to find all of the information about my online courses. We also have an online store over there. We have a blog. We have a members library. So if you want to sign up, it's completely free to sign up to the website and you get access to over 100 PDFs. Please follow us on social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on X, we're on Instagram. We are on TikTok as well. And of course, we're on YouTube. So please, if you're still watching at this point, why aren't you subscribed to the channel? If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Help me get to 35,000 subscribers. That's the next milestone that we're reaching for. And I think that's everything. So until next time, a 𝐺𝑒_ig go léir. Slán go fáil.